Everyone, welcome in. It is almost 7 o'clock, approaching 7 o'clock in the east where we are, at least Eastern time. We are in the Midwest where there are some storms brewing to our west in Illinois right now, which is why we're doing this Facebook Live. Welcome in. I'm in our newsroom right now. We are preparing you for a first alert weather day. And with that, I want to say hello to you wherever you're watching right now. Joshua Short with you. We are following those developing storms as we speak on this first alert weather day. We're doing this because we want to prepare you, not to scare you, obviously, but we want to make sure you are aware that these storms are going to pop up. They're going to be fast, and they're going to be devastating in some places, depending where they fall and how soon. And I want to stop there because the person who has been preparing us literally for days ahead of the storm is meteorologist Andrew Whitmyer. Andrew, we see you now, buddy. Andrew, just give us an update on where things stand at this moment, and has things shifted since the last time we spoke on Facebook Live?
And Josh, let's take a look at what's going on right now. Just off to our west right now, and I'm going to go ahead and draw kind of a white line just to kind of illustrate this for you. Across most of northern Indiana, southwestern Michigan, Michiana, no watches, no warnings. In fact, right now, as this Facebook Live is happening, right around 7 p.m. Eastern time, no raindrops even here at home. But just off to our west, this red shaded area, this is where the National Weather Service has issued a tornado watch until 11 o'clock Eastern time. And this is where we are going to focus our attention on where these storms are already starting to fire on off. And it's been an active day all the way up into Wisconsin and portions of Minnesota. And what we're watching is right across central Illinois right now, this boundary moving on through. And these storms have really exploded over the past hour and a half across north central portions of Illinois. You see these storm tracks, though, with this moving more towards the north and east with some of this. And this is what we're going to watch closely. What forms down around central Illinois, down around Peoria, Illinois. What happens there will eventually begin to work its way closer into Michiana. So let's time this out hour by hour with First Alert Weather Feeder Track. Here we are paused right now. Notice how Feeder Track is ahead by likely an hour and a half with this time frame moving on through. But what it does show us is that these showers and thunderstorms are still off to our west right now, and then eventually over the next 1 or 2 hours we may see an isolated storm trying to pop up somewhere across northern Indiana, southwestern Michigan. Now, eventually, what Feeder Track has been trying to show all day long and since yesterday afternoon, eventually at some point this evening, mid to late this evening, tries to form somewhat of a damaging wind line as that moves its way through portions of Michiana. Now, the question is, how widespread can this line be? If it does form, how widespread does it become? Does it extend all the way from southwestern Michigan all the way down to US 30, or does it stop down at the state line? Something our team will continue to monitor. The good news, any severe weather threat should come to an end between 11 and midnight locally across northern Indiana and southwestern Michigan, and then these storms work their way eastward into Ohio. So with that said, with these mentions here of severe weather for this evening, what are we looking at for the potential impacts? I think most of us that do have a storm, straight line damaging winds, the bigger concern, anywhere from 40 to 60 miles per hour. There is a mention that there could be an isolated gust or two, not widespread, and maybe some wind gusts upwards of 70 miles per hour. Hail is also a concern, but I think right now the biggest hail concern is mainly across the northwestern Indiana back over to Illinois. That's where they could be looking at ping pong, golf ball, or larger size hail. I think for Michiana, as these storms arrive, more around nickel, quarter, maybe as large as ping pong ball size as these storms arrive. And with that leading edge of storms moving on in, if it does gel into a line, there will be enough spin in the atmosphere where right along the leading edge of that line, producing with it some damaging wind gusts, there could be a quick spin up or two of a tornado. So something our team, Josh, will continue to monitor here over the next few hours, and we're going to keep paying very close attention to the radar trends just off to our west.
So you're looking at the radar trends. Let's just talk about what's happening to the west right now. You talked about it. You literally circled, and I say this because I was there. 4 o'clock, you made 2 circles about where these things could pop up in Illinois. Literally an hour and a half after you did that, those storms began popping up where said circle is right now on your screen. That is headed toward the Chicago area as we speak. In fact, Beyonce concert, for those who are curious, that has been delayed right now, the start time, which is outdoors at Soldier Field, downtown Chicago. Enough about Beyonce. Point is, people are aware and have their ears perked up because of this. Has anything changed right now? And I see you're putting a little bit of a line on there to see exactly the timing when it's going to get to Chicago. Can you update us on that too?
Yeah, so right now it's looking like these are moving at almost highway speeds right
Wow.
now, close to around 50 miles per hour. And they're only going to continue to uptick in speed here as we go throughout the remainder of this evening. First alert weather radar trying to put a track on this at roughly Chicago at 7 o'clock Central Time. That's 8 o'clock Eastern Time. So if it delays until 8 o'clock to even arrive to Chicago, well, Michiana is after 8 p.m. So that's something we're going to continue to watch here very closely. But I guess Josh, what we're going to watch right now is what is forming down here in central Illinois. What forms here will likely try to track its way into some portion of Michiana.
Is this part of that
as
line?
we head on into the evening.
And this is part of that line, right, Andrew?
Yeah, this is all part of this line, and I'll go ahead and widen it out here just so you can kind of see the real estate here of this line that continues to form. And what this line is, George, is the cold front moving on through, and this is what will drop the humidity by daybreak tomorrow morning.
Okay, got it. You know what? And I don't even blame you. At this point, you've been up all night. I've been up all day. I'm going to be here throughout the night. You called me, George, twice. I don't care, Andrew. It's okay. I forgive you. Look, I want to talk about something else because you mentioned this earlier. In fact, I saw it was kind of I don't know the graphic you call it, because you literally have a library of graphics you've been trying to walk people through on what to expect tonight. Can you talk about this one graphic that talked about tornadoes potential, hail potential, and the hail potential was high up there, but the winds, I mean, that was extremely high as well. Can you show that? I believe you have that in your library somewhere. You showed it, I believe, at 6 o'clock as well.
Yeah, let me go ahead and pull it up here. I've got a bunch of different graphics that all kind of explain the same thing as far as impacts for this evening. And I really do expect that damaging wind, again, is the primary impact with any storm that does move through Michiana, especially if future track holds true with moving through a linear line, a straight line wind event moving on into some portions of the area. Most of us with that straight line wind threat, with that line of storms moving on in, I think right at the leading edge of that, most of us 50 to 60 miles per hour, but there will be a few isolated areas within that line that could get up to 60 to 70 miles per hour. So something we'll continue to watch, Josh.
One other thing I want to mention too about graphics, you also talked about this cap. I want to explain to some of our new viewers because, by the way, we have 89,000 people who viewed our earlier Facebook Live conversation. That is on WNDU.com and on our Facebook page as well. This one I wanted to re-talk about, if we can, which you had mentioned earlier, that cap. What happened with that, and how does that contribute to what we could see in the next couple hours?
Yeah, so let's just first rehash out what is a cap. Imagine if you had a bottle of pop, you shook it up, but you did not open it, nothing happens. Well, today we've shooken up the bottle of pop. We've got temperatures for today that are really close to near 90 degrees. Now what we're waiting for is for that cap to be removed. And the moment you remove that cap, you get all that foam exploding everywhere. You get those thunderstorm clouds that are allowed to grow up and grow in scale. And, well, they're growing up right now in Illinois. That's where the cap has really been eroded. But here in Michiana, northern Indiana, southwestern Michigan, we still have this cap in place, which is why the radar, if you look at your WNDU First Alert weather app, there's nothing to show on it locally, northern Indiana, southwestern Michigan at 7 p.m. Eastern time. But where this cap is really starting to break down is across central Illinois. And I expect that cap will begin to break down further eastward, meaning across Michiana as we head on into this evening, which is why we're concerned with a 9, 10, and 11 o'clock time frame as a window to be on guard for severe weather here at home.
That's the window, 9 to 11 o'clock Eastern time. If you are in our viewing area, I know some of our viewing area, like LaPorte County, parts of LaPorte County is in Central time zone. So again, we're talking Eastern. When you heard that time, say that time window one more time, Andrew, just so people hear it.
Yeah, so the time frame right now for a potential line of severe thunderstorms in Michiana, 9, 10, and 11 p.m. That is Eastern time. What all the data is showing us, Josh, is by midnight, all of the storms are well east of Michiana and we should see the severe weather threat coming to an end by midnight. So this is not something where most of us are going to be woken up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning for. Most of us, if you can, just try to stay awake until we give you the all clear of this potential severe weather threat here at home, and give it a few more hours. I think over the course of the next 4 or 5 hours, that's the only time span that we have to really be on guard for severe weather. And then once we get past midnight, we are storm free for today, but our team is also analyzing new data for tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, tomorrow night, a secondary cold front will move through Michiana, and some of those storms we may have to watch is something we'll keep an eye on here in First Alert Weather. But the focus right now is on what's going to happen over the next 4 hours.
You're looking at the map behind Andrew. We're going to wrap this up very soon. I urge our viewers who are watching right now on Facebook Live to send in questions if you have any, so that Andrew can answer them adequately. And obviously, I know a lot of people are watching on your apps as well, including our Digital Plus app. So with that, I want to make sure somebody comments, keep the cap on, please. That cap could be off in some parts of Illinois. As you mentioned, things are starting to pop up there. But you talk about this line just north of Illinois as well. Is that part of the same system? Is that the same effect that we're seeing up there too?
Yeah, so if we widen this out here, and I'll go ahead and pause the radar and I'll toggle on the warnings for you. You can see all of these warnings up into Wisconsin. It's been quite the afternoon, quite the evening for any family or friends that live in Wisconsin tonight. They're more closer towards an area of low pressure, a bigger spin in the atmosphere, and that is why you see multiple purples here, tornado warnings. A lot of this line up across central and now eastern Wisconsin dealing with tornadoes right now, kind of a tornado outbreak, if you will. And meanwhile, areas further away from that area of low pressure down in Illinois, we're just seeing severe thunderstorm warnings for damaging wind and damaging hail. Now, that's not to mean we're not completely zeroed out or tornado threat.
Sure.
I still think there is a possibility that as this begins to form into a line, that right along that leading edge, we could have a quick spin up or two of a tornado that could come with little to no warning, which is why we want to keep stressing here in First Alert Weather as the system moves into Michiana. Treat any warning like a tornado warning, whether it's a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning. You need to make sure that you are going to your safe location. So where is your safe location if your community goes under a warning? Well, obviously a basement. That's going to be your best place. But if you don't have a basement, if you're someone that lives in a high-rise building, an apartment complex, you likely don't have a basement. So where do you go from there? Well, you want to try to get to the lowest level if you can. And if you can't, just try to put as many walls in between you as you can. We're talking an interior bathroom, an interior closet. That would be the best place to go in the event that a warning is issued for your community.
Two-folded question here from some of our viewers. One, this is from Alicia. Can we see that same activity where you were talking about somewhat of a tornado outbreak happening in Wisconsin? Can we see that happening here? That's the first question. And then the second part to that question, the main concern is the wind and the possible hail. It's not like a downpour for over an hour. We're talking quick hitters, but the hail and the wind, which could also impact power. So what could people expect in that regard?
Yeah, so again, the reason why I'm not overly concerned with the mention of using the word tornado as widespread is due to the fact that I don't think these are going to be individual cells. I think they're going to become more of a line as they work their way into Michiana.
And that's
the
not
moment
good.
that happens, you really just have to be on alert for straight line winds and some damaging hail. So something our team will continue to monitor. If I can toggle on a different product here, though, and just show you we'll see if it allows me to load the radar side off to our west here. Just kind of showing you what the wind speeds are looking like. Give me a second.
And as you do that, I'm continuing to look here. People are commenting. Some people who are storm trackers as well are looking and trying to figure out exactly just like you are, trying to figure out what's going to happen. You've been looking at the data literally over the last 3 days, and things have changed over the last 12 hours, so much so that you said it on Facebook, things were heightened in terms of your awareness and concern surrounding these storms. And so as you now look up the speed, I'm looking at this here. What are we looking at? What are we seeing?
So what we're looking at, we're trying to look at just how strong these storms are, at least with their wind profile, that is, as far as damaging wind goes. And right now we're getting some wind gusts, according to radar, anywhere from 20 upwards to near 60 miles per hour with that line of showers and thunderstorms, which are just off to our west. So that just gives us an indication of kind of what's going on with these showers and thunderstorms off to our west and just how strong, how severe they are.
And listen, I want people to know, and nobody has said this, and nobody is saying this, and I appreciate that, but it is not easy to do what meteorologists do. And I know people like to keep tabs and keep track on what is being said and how it's being said and what you're going to see. This is a system of concern from all meteorologists around the region, including the National Weather Service, so much so that we issue this First Alert Weather Day to prepare you, not to scare you. And so with that, I want people to understand the reason Andrew is walking us through all of this is because things change, models change, radars shift, right? And because of that, we want to keep you in the know about what to prepare for. You talked about the window of time here. We're talking Eastern time. And I want you to mention that again, Andrew, as we're taking a look at a wider view of what's to come through our area as it goes through Illinois right now.
Yeah, so again, we're going to be watching for these showers and thunderstorms out in central Illinois to arrive in Michiana, likely over the next 2 hours. Again, time frame here that we're talking about is all in Eastern time. We're looking between 9, 10, and 11 o'clock Eastern time for some of these showers and thunderstorms to move on in. And I'm going to try here, if I can, to just put a track on here. You're going to see a lot of towns popping on up here.
Sure.
And I just want to try to highlight northern Indiana, southwestern Michigan. You can see if these hold, if nothing else forms ahead of this line, we're likely going to start to see it around Valparaiso, Michigan City, around 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, and around South Bend, Warsaw, the closer we get towards 10, 11 o'clock this evening Eastern Time.
This is a great way to see it, visualize it, and put it into context here, because a lot of people just talk about the forecast and use words we're not used to hearing. This really helps us understand it. So, Andrew, I really appreciate you adding context. Is there anything, and I'm looking to make sure there are no, somebody said, I live in a mobile home. I mean, obviously, people are making some jokes in the comments, but I want you to talk about this as well. These are some of the safety tips, right, that people should be aware about.
Yeah, some of the safety tips. And again, whether it's a tornado warning or if you're looking at wind gusts 60+ miles per hour, it's always a good idea to treat every storm seriously and take the precautions. So again, obviously, if you live in a house, if you do have a basement, that's the best place that you could be in the event of a severe thunderstorm or tornado warning over your location. If you don't have a basement, an interior room on the lowest floor away from windows would be your next best option. If you're in a mobile home, it's best to get out of the mobile home and seek shelter in a sturdy building that is closest to the mobile home if you can. And then if you're in a multi-story, we're talking an apartment complex or a condo, an interior hallway on the lowest floor away from windows is your best option.
The way I interpret this is the more inward you are in a home, if you're in the multi-story home, I know a lot of people they usually get confused. I don't have a basement. The more walls that are surrounding you, the better. So that's why you always say bathroom and stuff like that, right, Andrew?
That's right. And again, we're not looking at a widespread tornado outbreak here locally in Michiana. We're looking at the potential more for straight line winds with maybe 1 or 2 tornadoes that could briefly pop on off as this starts to form more into a line. So hopefully that helps calm some anxiety. We're not anticipating a widespread tornado outbreak, but what we are going to first alert to is more of a widespread damaging wind event with some hail, some lightning, and a brief window of some intense rainfall. In fact, we could be looking at a 30-minute window where we could be looking at a quarter to a half an inch of rain that falls in a very short window.
That is a lot in a small window, but not as much as you think, like in terms of an hour to 2 hour downpour. One thing I do want to remind our viewers of, just a couple months ago, Andrew, you remember this, that even though you were out of town, you were keeping track of this stuff. We had some really bad, strong wind events in succession. I believe it was about 6 or 7 days apart. And people thought they got rocked by a tornado. In fact, some areas of our viewing area did, but not everybody got hit by a tornado. However, the strong wind events, it had just as much damage, if not worse. And so just because you don't hear tornado doesn't mean that you should let your guard down, but it also doesn't mean your anxiety should be up. We're just trying to prepare folks for a loud night. And I say a loud night meaning short in time, right? Just about an hour, hour and a half or so.
Yeah, I mean, as it moves through Michiana, that line that does eventually move through some portion of the area, We're only going to look at the most intense part of that storm, the severe part of the storm, only lasting a few minutes at best for any given community. And this will continue to race its way out of Michiana. And widespread damaging wind obviously produces a lot more damage over a wider area, I should say, than a tornado, which is very, very localized. So that's why we saw that earlier this season with that widespread wind event at the end of March, and why we had so much damage across Michiana was due to those straight line damaging winds moving through a good chunk of the area. And listen, if you get a 70-mile-an-hour wind gust, you're going to think that it's a tornado anyways, because it's going to do a lot of damage if you get a 70 or 80-mile-an-hour wind gust.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people who are prepared for this. There is one person who says he's going to be sitting in his driveway in his chair looking as this happens and comes through. We'd love to talk to you tomorrow. Look, anything else you want to add that you want people to know, that you want people to be prepared for and aware of before tonight? Like you said, that 3-hour window between 9 and midnight.
Yeah, all I can say is we're going to continue to watch how this evolves out in central Illinois. There is the potential that as this comes in, that most of it could just be regular old showers and thunderstorms, and maybe only a few of them get warned for some damaging wind and hail. Something we're going to continue to first alert to, but for right now, let's prepare for some more scattered, more widespread severe weather moving through Michiana for this evening. And then let's hope that the threat is not as bad as it could be. No one likes to see damage, so let's hope that we don't have damage here in Michiana. We could use the raindrops, but we don't want to see the damage with those raindrops. That's
a great point. Farmers need the rain right now. A lot of people need the rain. I'm seeing some spots in my grass. And so with that, I need to go home, water the grass, see the kids really quickly. I know you have to take a quick lunch break because you're going to be back here for the majority of the night looking at these things, especially as it comes through. We're going to have team coverage, of course. We've got our Emma Bright, who's going to be at any sites of potential damage. And again, the hope is we see nothing. Look, the best case scenario is we hope we're wrong, but as forecasters, Andrew and the team, along with Jack Van Meter, who's going to be alongside him as well, are going to keep you posted as this line comes through, just in case anything pops up. And by the way, Andrew, confirm this if I'm incorrect. You are going to be live on Channel 16 if there's any type of severe warning out there, if there's a warning that pops up, right?
Correct. And I do expect that at least someone in Michiana has at least a severe thunderstorm warning out of this event. Now the question is, how widespread is this over the next few hours, as what we're going to really analyze what's happening over in central and eventually into eastern Illinois. That'll give us a much better picture on how the data is handling this scenario as this starts to move into northern Indiana, southwestern Michigan between 9, 10, and 11 o'clock Eastern time this evening.
If you've got friends in Chicago, family, let them know it's on the doorstep, and then just obviously be weather aware tonight, okay? Obviously, there may be, depending on, you talked about those winds, chances of power outages are likely. Be prepared for that. Charge your phones right now if you can. Andrew, we appreciate you. Thank you for walking us through this. Thank you for calming our nerves, because obviously with this being the forecast, we obviously want to make sure people know this isn't going to be something that everyone is going to see for hours on end. This is going to be brief, quick, but it could have some impacts as well. We're going to be all over it here on Channel 16 and at WNDU.com. Our web team is here as well. Andrew, we appreciate you. We appreciate everyone on our Facebook Live as well for watching. We're going to be obviously here all night long until this is over, until this event is over with. So we'll keep you posted on what we learn, if anything changes in the forecast, and obviously on air if we get anything severe coming through our area. We'll see you soon.